So, do you ever feel like you're stuck in the all or nothing when it comes to your health? You're all in following a certain program and being good, and then life shows up and you just can't sustain it. So, you just give up. I find that a lot of people get stuck in this process and they can't see how else they can actually get healthy and stay healthy. This is something I work on with my clients because when you get out of this mindset, you can start to find sustainable health. So today I'm going to be bringing a guest on the show so she can share her expertise on how to get us out of this all or nothing mindset. One of my supplements that I take every day is my daily omega-3 supplement. And this is because I actually tested my levels at home and they were so low. And really 97% of people worldwide are low in omega-3. And this affects us at a cellular level. So things like our brain, our mood, the way we think, dry eyes, dry skin, our bowel cells, our gut, all go back to making sure that we're having enough omega-3s. And I love this supplement because one, you can buy a kit where you can test your levels so that you know. You test it, you supplement, and you retest again to make sure that your body is absorbing it. And the supplement I use has had added polyphenols so that we get better absorption and no fishy burps, fishy taste, which comes from oxidation. So check out the link down below on how to get started with that. The other supplement I'm loving is my Organifi. I like to have the Organifi green in the morning, and this gives me a natural dose of energy. It has adaptogen herbs in it. My favorite one is ashwagandha, and this helps our body to adapt to stress. So we're getting lots of micronutrients and helping with our stress. I also love the Organifi Gold. Right now they have pumpkin pie spice. I like to have it with some almond milk or coconut milk, and it's really a yummy drink. It also has lemon bulb in it, which is a great calming, relaxing herb, and also turmeric. So if you guys want to check it out, there's a link down below and use the code HEALTHY20 to save 20% off today. Hi friends, and welcome to the Healthy Beyond 40 show. I'm Michele, mama of 4 and military wife, and I'm passionate about helping women get healthy from the inside out so they can feel better and live their best life. Do you feel like you're struggling to lose weight and get in shape? If you're ready to develop healthier habits, exercise consistently, and lose weight sustainably, then you're in the right place. I combine my expertise from my doctorate in physical therapy to my experience as a health coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher to bring you actionable steps for a healthy lifestyle. No magic pill here, so lace up those shoes and get moving. So Jessie, welcome to the show, and please share a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Michele. It's such a pleasure to be here with you and your community. And my name is Jessie Haymeyer, and I am a functional medicine physician. I like to call that data-driven natural medicine. And while I work with people on a wide variety of health challenges, conundrums, concerns, one of the big areas I work with people on is mastering their middle ground and giving up this inherited all or nothing approach. And so when I work with people, we really integrate a combination of science and heart to guide people in creating the health that, simply put, allows them to be their best in life. And to me, that's really what health is for, right? For most of us, health is the foundation that allows us to realize our full potential. And that's really important to me for all people.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you put the science and the heart, because it's also how our mind is, how ready we're willing and able to do things, and our body just functioning as a whole to really get us to where we need to be. So tell me a little bit about what the all or nothing approach means to you, maybe how it shows up in people that you see.
Yeah, the all or nothing approach fundamentally is expressed as overindulgence or deprivation. Overindulgence or deprivation. That is how the all or nothing approach is expressed. And the thing about this approach, this all or nothing approach, is we didn't invent it. We inherited it, right? And if you don't believe me, look at the abundance, like millions, I don't know, maybe we're even at the billions, but certainly millions of diet books out there that fundamentally are speaking to or endorsing a a mythical world where someone is constantly doing this like perfect thing that is just inconsistent with reality, right? So people get locked into this all or nothing overindulgence deprivation approach, and they keep cycling through that. And so, deprivation, if we just start there, right, that might look like something like, for some people, it might be the Whole30, or it might be an AIP diet. But fundamentally, it's, a really restricted way of eating that at a certain point, people throw up their hands and say, I can't do this, right? This isn't working. And typically when that happens, they swing in the other direction, right? And they swing in the direction of overindulge, which is different than indulgence. And, the thing about deprivation and overindulgence, that all or nothing approach, is people are left without the measurable outcomes they care the most about. And they're also left feeling really defeated, maybe even feeling ashamed, like there's something wrong with them, when in fact, there's nothing wrong with them. They were just handed a broken playbook. And so, to me, as you were saying, Michele, so much of this work is working with people and guiding them to a new mindset. And fundamentally, if we think about the mindset where that all or nothing approach is birthed, it's one of self-aggression. And, this journey for people to start to recognize and see that and make the shift is really one of stepping into self-love. And it's through stepping into that perspective of self-love that over time people are able to author and master what I like to call their middle ground.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you brought it back to the self-love or self-kindness, because when we really stop to think about that, it makes a huge difference. If you're sitting there beating yourself up, you're never going to get out of that cycle and those thoughts. So if we can start to, no matter where we are in our health, if we can start to love and respect our body and be grateful for what it's done, even though it may not be where we want it, then we can start to move forward in a mentally healthier space. And I love when you brought up deprivation, you mentioned the AIP diet. Years ago, I started having some autoimmune symptoms, and I looked at the AIP diet because it's for autoimmune, but I'm like, oh my goodness, like I am not going to be able to do this. So I just started, first I cut out gluten and dairy, some of the bigger things. So I took a very different approach, and my autoimmune symptoms weren't like huge in my face, but I did it in a smaller step-by-step process because I'm able to maintain some of those things still now a few years later. And I have this better relationship with my body too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you knew just after a glance at the AIP diet that wasn't going to be a fit for you. I love that you knew that and that you honored it, right? Because some people see it and they, their instinct is like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But they kind of like beat themselves into submission, right? Yeah. And it just doesn't work. I think there's one woman who I've worked with in the entirety of my career who she actually came to see me, also had an autoimmune disorder. She was a dietitian. So she's like, listen, I know what I'm getting into. And she also said, I'm not willing to do this forever, but I just want to see. So she took on AIP in a really with a healthy mindset. She took it on for about a month. It made a huge difference. And then she was like, okay, well, I can't do it anymore. So now let's get grounded in reality, right? Let's get down and dirty with, okay, what's life going to look like in a long-term fashion? And we did. So, you just jumped right to that, which is great.
Yeah. And you have to be able to love and respect yourself enough and know your body, and also be able to tune into yourself to be able to do that and start with those better decisions. So you don't get started on something that you fail at and then you feel like crap too.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Do you have any more signs that women who are stuck in this all or nothing mindset? You mentioned a little bit of feeling defeated and ashamed, but what are some signs okay, I'm really stuck in this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, simply put, if someone is gaining weight and losing weight over and over again, that's a pretty good sign that they are, they're living in the playbook and the inherited mindset of that all or nothing approach. So that would be a very good sign that that a tip that the all or nothing approach is at play.
Yeah. And really that defeated, like just giving up, because this shows up in all areas of our lives, not just our health or weight loss journey too. And so you mentioned mastering the middle ground earlier. So tell me what that middle ground means, because we're talking about this all or nothing, this overindulgence or this deprivation. So what does it mean to sort of master that middle ground?
Yeah, so mastering one's middle ground is really in the way of how it shows up logistically, right? It's going to be different for each person because your middle ground is different than my middle ground, and my middle ground is different than my husband's middle ground. And that's all okay, right? But when we're living in that middle ground, a few things I'd say. We begin to get curious about what it is to bend and not break, right? To find that sway. There's a term called strong like bamboo, where, we're able to be, it's like a tree that is just strong is going to fall over, break in half in a big storm, and a tree that's insufficiently strong isn't going to be able to stand up straight. So we're finding that sweet spot sway for ourselves, which is really self-authored. But, if you think about what this might look like when you're going to indulge, first of all, giving yourself permission, because oftentimes it's this, tug of war. People get engaged with themselves. I shouldn't, but I want to. I shouldn't, but I want to. I shouldn't, but I want to. And then they just go over, they kind of rebel against themselves really and get stuck into this, like, okay, I was going to have one cookie and now I just had the whole package, right? So it really requires some slowing down and looking at what it means to make a better choice and give up all notions of a perfect choice. And, being in that journey of making a better choice over time and really staying in that inquiry of what's a better choice, over time, people really do find their middle ground.
Yeah, I love that. And I like how you talked about the bamboo tree. It's like finding that just right challenge for yourself, because obviously we're going to have to change things that we're doing, eating or exercising, whatever that is. And that's always hard. So there's going to be a push, a little bit of resistance, but how can we find that just right amount where we can start to be successful? And that is different for people, that we can't compare. And people get so caught up in that. The other week I was just talking to someone about sugar cravings and trying to find like what she wanted in her life. And I'm like, can you have a treat every night? Like, not saying that's right or wrong, like asking her, like, where are you at in your journey? Does that fit into your plan and your health right now? Because maybe it does. And that's okay. Maybe for someone else, maybe they have a few a week and that's what fits into their journey and their health plan. Neither one is right or wrong. It's just like you said, I like that, finding the better choice. We don't have to be perfect, but being in choice too with what we want for our health and not letting our cravings or other things rule us, but being able to step into a place of choice.
Yeah. And that word choice is so perfect, Michele, right? And, I know for myself in my own journey, when I really drew a line in the sand, I really got that I was done being owned by food, right? I was not going to be owned by this area of my life ever. I was just done with it. I was done. And it really did take time, patience, inquiry, learnings, many, many things over time to journey. But I knew I was, to your point, I was committed to being at choice and not being owned by food or cravings.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me a little bit more. I love how you put that, not owned by food. So what does that mean to you, or what did that like little bit, that journey look like?
Yeah. So for me, this was when I was in my 20s. It was about 20 years ago. I was in my late 20s and I had been in that all or nothing approach for about a decade and a half at that point, roughly. And, I remember the sense of frustration, the sense of shame, the sense of overwhelm. And then at one point, I really got that being so preoccupied with this area of my life was interfering with me being fully present with the people who I care about the most and fully contributing to this world. And that was not okay with me. So that was my point, my own personal point of like, I'm not going to be owned by food. And I don't know how to master this, but I know I will. There was this moment of being really resolute that allowed me to step into being more curious and kind with myself, curious about, okay, how am I going to author this journey? And also kind with myself on the way. Because I really just got, the self-regression wasn't working. So I might as well give it up. Right. And it became, about learning the science, but also learning myself and how I uniquely change. And as you were mentioning earlier, Michele, right, one person having something sweet every night, that maybe that works for them. Maybe it works for their body. Maybe it works for their mind and spirit. Maybe it works for the outcomes they're committed to. Totally fine. But really leaning into that inquiry for yourself of what's my truth and what works for me it opens doors in ways that really no book can, nothing can.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, when we can start to learn some of the science too, because we're in a culture where we're surrounded by sugar, fast food, like lots of food, big portions, it's really hard to be in tune with our body and make good choices. So we need to learn some of these basic nutrition principles, but at the same time, be able to show our self-kindness and tune into our body. Know when we're actually like starting to get full, or really before, I like to say that 80% full, when we can do that and we can be more in choice with food and not be ruled by it. Because a lot of us have grown up in places where we were rewarded with food as a kid. We're still doing it for our kids, or like at schools, here's a piece of candy, or my kids go to youth group, like here's a big thing of candy. Like we don't need all this. And we're training ourselves. And so it's hard to step out of that. So giving ourselves grace, but getting to that point where we're more in choice. So how long do you think it takes to really master this area of life?
Well, I would say I'll answer this in two ways. So the first thing is I think of 1 year as one lap. So 1 year is one lap, and you don't master anything in one lap, right? So it's just to say in 1 year, you're going to encounter all of life. You're going to encounter the birthdays and the vacations and the anniversaries, and you're also going to encounter disappointments and upset. You are going to encounter life. And so 1 year I think of as one lap, and realistically, I think it takes most people 3 to 5 years to really have mastery in this area of their lives. And what do I mean by mastery? I mean, people are consistently caring for their bodies in a way that makes them feel proud of themselves, in a way that makes them feel physically well, and in a way that is showing up measurably, right? Their lab results look great. They, feel good when they put their jeans on, or they look at the scale, or whatever metric they use in that world, right? So it takes time not just to master the mindset and master the logistics, but it takes time and repetition to gain trust in yourself, right? Because most people have years, if not decades, of evidence of how it's been. It's going to take time to build evidence for how it's going to be.
I just love that. 3 to 5 years, guys. And it really goes back to this idea, like health is a journey. Like I've been on this journey for a long time, and it's something you have to continually to be intentional about. It gets easier, but it really just takes time to get that time and those reps in, just like you were saying. And those 3 to 5 years in a space where you're in a good relationship with your body, not doing the dieting, not failing, not doing all that, but 3 to 5 years of working on your health and starting to feel good and have that self-love and self-kindness for yourself. Because I find with people too, it's like, oh, a birthday comes up, a vacation, or something happens in their family, and that is life. And how can we still prioritize our health during those times? It may look different, but we still have to be able to do that. I got this little biofeedback for my younger kids, and it's like video game based. So they're playing this video game, and it will start to get red when their heart rate goes up, and they have to take deep breaths and calm down. So we just got this. But in the thing for the parent resources, it says it takes about 600 to 800 cool downs for kids to take this into their own life. And like, I think they get like 10 to 15 in a game typically. But I'm like, wow, like that just tells you a lot of things take a really long time to incorporate into our life. So we have to keep that in mind. We can't think this is like a 3-month thing or a 6-month thing I'm doing. This is a lifelong thing that I'm doing.
Definitely, definitely. And, worked into what you were saying, Michele, about, the birthdays and the vacations and things like that. One of the things that people who are stepping into this new era for themselves will need to confront is you will make choices you regret. Like you will. That is part of the learning process. We could call that, oh, you failed, or, it sounds so heavy, right? But simply put, like, okay, there will be a point in your journey, inevitably, where you don't win the game you're playing, where you make a choice and you're like, shoot, I wish I would have made a different choice, whatever that might be. And, the old way of being is beat yourself up and feel badly and maybe even go down that rabbit hole even more, whatever that is. So I didn't work out for a week, so I'm just not going to work out for 2 more months. Or I ate the pizza, so I might as well have the sundae, like that kind of mentality, whatever it is. That's the old way of being. So really looking at these moments where you regret the choice you made as a moment to pause, be with it, whatever's there. You don't need to deny any upsets that is there, but also practicing bringing yourself grace and love and seeing what you can learn from it so that in the future you can put those learnings to use. So it really is, cultivating a different relationship with those moments as well so that you can use them to your advantage over time.
Yeah, I love that. And I call it feedback. Like, it's just feedback. Take it as feedback, learn from it. And so that brings me to my last question here. So that would be one of the tips, is to take when something doesn't go right just as feedback, not as beating ourselves up. What can you learn from it? Do you have any other practical tips to help people get out of this all or nothing mindset?
Yeah. So one tip that I have is, meet yourself where you are. And what I mean by that is without any sense of where you should be or what you should be doing today. And, I really invite all of you listening to take this on today, is to engage in a question called, what's the best choice I can make right now? And you could bring that question to what you're eating. You could bring it to alcohol. You could bring that to movement. You could bring that to social media. You could bring that to your sleep, right? You could bring that to a lot of different areas of your life. But for this moment, I invite you to choose just one area, an area that you really see as, like if I could make some progress there, it really would make a meaningful difference for me. So you choose that area and then begin practicing that question. What's the best game I can play right now? And coming up with your answer and then honoring that answer.
Yeah, I love that. And sort of a 2-in-1 there is start with one area. You said that.
Yes.
And then really thinking what is the best choice now and following through with that. And I think sometimes that also takes pausing before making a choice, because sometimes we're so automatic. So being able to slow down and ask ourselves that. If we forget to ask ourselves, we're going to give ourselves grace and feedback, and we're just going to do that again. So I love that tip, and I think that's a great place to start. So Jessie, tell us where, I'll have all the links down below. Tell us where people can find you or what you do.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me on my website at Well Empowered, and feel free to schedule a complimentary consultation if you're interested in exploring working together or being part of one of our upcoming groups. Also, for those of you who are interested, we send out weekly dares. So once a week, we send people dares that include micro habits, and they're fun little Sunday emails. So if that's of interest to you, text 312-967-8000. That's 312-967-8000. And you'll text sign me up in your email address. And then lastly, if you're on Instagram, if you're on social media, you can find me at Well Empowered. And then if you do, just to circle back to the consultation, if you do choose to schedule a consultation and you do feel like it's a good fit, you'd like to work together, please make sure you let me know where you heard about me, because you will be gifted 10% off for being sent by Michele.
Awesome. And tell us a little more, because you do functional medicine. So tell us a little more what people do for you, what functional medicine can do for them.
Yeah. So the people who I work with are typically struggling with a few different things. It might be something in the world of digestion. We talked about weight. Often hormones are something people come to seek care for. Skin. Those are kind of energy related stuff. And, in our work together, we're looking to identify the root cause of symptoms and health conundrums. And we do that in a variety of ways, but we use labs to understand what's at the source of symptoms and health conundrums. And we also do some nutritional tracking if that's relevant to understand what's going on in the body. And then we're using natural measures, whether it's nutrition, supplementation, whether it's botanicals or nutrients, lifestyle, and more often than not, it's a combination of everything to support the body in its healing journey.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big fan of functional medicine. All right, guys. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this show today. I hope you're thinking about what is that one thing that you can take away and not worrying about being overwhelmed. Think about where you are on your journey right now. All right. Keep moving, everyone.